Welcome to Reframe Your Mindset for Success. With me today is Philippa. How are you today, Philippa?
I'm really good, thanks, Paul.
And what is it you've been up to today or this week?
Just the usual stuff, networking, school runs, just the normal kind of, working, having your own business.
Yeah, type of stuff. Yeah, it's quite
Mhm.
a nice combination and quite a nice balance of networking and family stuff then.
Yeah, definitely. I'm working on some stuff for clients as well, analysing surveys and things like that around culture. So yeah, it's been good.
Oh, great stuff, great stuff. So, as you know, the podcast always starts with your story. So it's an over to you in as many words as you want to tell it.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Um, my story starts in Buxton, where I was born. But when I was 2.5, we then moved to a tiny little island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called the Gilbert and Ellis Islands, little tiny island called Kiribati. I grew up there for 5 years, paradise, running down the back garden into the sea, going into the local school barefoot. You can imagine it was just idyllic.
Yeah.
Then at 7.5, we moved back to the UK, and that was the first time I really experienced what it felt like to be different. I went from being this sort of carefree island kid to suddenly feeling like I didn't belong in the village school where everyone already knew each other. And it was a massive change for me. And then after that, we moved again, this time to Zambia. And although I'm so grateful for the experience, that feeling of kind of being the outsider kind of followed me. And then even when at the age of 11, I went to boarding school in North Wales, which obviously I enjoyed, but I still never really felt like I fit in. People were like winding each other up, playing pranks, and that just wasn't my vibe. So when I was 14, my dad's job in Zambia ended, and I had to leave mid-year and go to the local comprehensive in Ellesmere Port. And I remember walking into the classroom feeling nervous, and one of the girls pointed at me and said, "Stay on that," referring to what my mum had decided I was going to wear that day. And everyone laughed. And as you can imagine, that moment stuck with me. And it was the beginning of kind of me trying to fit in rather than just being myself.
Yeah.
So obviously throughout my life, I've had, obviously ups and downs. There's been my parents' divorce, my mum's illness, feeling lost and acting out because I didn't know how else to cope. But eventually, I found my way into the world of training and development, and that's where I discovered my love for helping people.
Yeah.
So I began to realize that while I often felt like I didn't quite fit in, I was actually building a deep understanding of people, and how they behave and what they need, and also sort of how they connect.
Yeah.
Um, at age 23, my mum passed away, and I went through a period of depression, a few toxic relationships. I also carried on my training career, leaving HBOS and starting at Everton Football Club,
Yeah.
where I was the HR and training officer. And I was looking after all things learning and development at the club for the next 4 years. And then I took voluntary redundancy in 2012, but was fortunate enough to be offered a job at Manchester United, which is where I was introduced to the tool that I use at the moment in my work called Insights Discovery. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because it really did change my life.
Yeah.
Reading through that profile in front of me, it was in black and white, recognizing all of the behaviors it was describing. I actually felt seen and I felt validated. Like all
Yeah.
my thoughts and behaviors just suddenly made sense. And it made me realize that, I was different and that everyone is different. But everyone is valid because of their differences, not in spite of them. And so understanding this helped me to see things differently.
Yeah.
Where once I would kind of take feedback personally, it was now all about perception. And I realized that, and that two people's perception of the same situation can be very different, and both can still be right. And it was a total game changer for my working relationships, and then in turn for my confidence, because my confidence had started to slip a bit. Not long after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
No.
I knew I was going to do everything in my power to get through it because one, I had a little boy of two who needed his mummy.
Yeah.
And two, I knew I was positive, resilient, and strong. And, my insights profile had kind of reinforced that for me. And now at last I believed it was true.
Yeah.
So after recovering, I returned to work, but something just didn't feel right. So I wasn't happy. And I couldn't shake the feeling that life was too short and spending time doing something that didn't bring me joy was not something that I wanted to do. So I needed to do something that truly mattered to me, something that lit me up every day. And obviously my passion's always been helping people. So that's what led me to set up my own business, Satori People Development. I wanted to help others see who they are, understand how they operate, and recognize the difference that they can make. And that's where I am today.
Wow, so it's some journey, isn't it? I mean, obviously when you were young, you moved around quite a bit. Uh,
Yeah,
as you say, that feeling of not fitting in. I think a lot of us feel that in life, don't we? And I know, like, we can all feel at some stages in our lives that we don't fit in some respects because
yeah.
for you, it's obviously because you moved and you traveled. Do you feel now that you fit in more, that you've, decided your path in life? Does it feel more like you're fitting into life?
It does, definitely. I still obviously get that kind of almost imposter syndrome or a feeling of, oh, is this my tribe? But I feel since setting up my own business, the people that I've met along the way, um, they're more like me.
Yeah.
Caring and sort of wanting to kind of know the full person. Whereas kind of, when you're growing up, you meet lots and lots of different people. And I used to think that, everybody had to like me, otherwise I wasn't a good person.
Yeah.
And actually now I realize that, actually some people won't like me and I won't like some people, but that's okay. You don't have to like everybody. It's just about, feeling like you belong.
Yeah, no, I'm with you totally. And only because there's different times for me when growing up, I didn't feel like I fitted in, and then sometimes you find new friends or new situations, and you become accepted. Or
Yeah.
in the workplace as well, you can work in different places, which obviously we both have at different times, and sometimes
Mm.
you fit in some places better than you fit in others. But that feeling
Yeah.
of being left out, it's never a nice feeling. Um,
No.
you talk about imposter syndrome there. So from an
Mm.
imposter syndrome perspective, we can all obviously once again suffer with that. I know I have from time to time, but
Yeah.
it's that mindset that helps you through, I guess, when you have imposter syndrome. So
Yeah.
that leads really nicely into what we're going to talk about. So first question around mindset for you would be, why is mindset so important to you?
I guess honestly, because I've seen how much it can shift your entire experience of life. Um, so, going through everything that I've been through,
Yeah,
um, it's kind of helped me see things um, in a different way. So my idea now is that every situation is neutral. And what makes it positive or negative is how you see it. It's your perception of it.
yeah,
And how you see it is all about your mindset. So, I use an example in my training about redundancy. So, depending on your mindset, based on obviously your experiences, you could see a redundancy as a positive thing because, you're getting a lump sum of money and it's an opportunity to do something different, like set up your own business. Or you could see it as a negative thing that, oh my God, my regular income's not going to be here anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to try and find another job. That's going to be really hard. And I think, that mindset is built through experience.
yeah,
So if you've seen somebody in that situation, that is going to inform your beliefs, and that is obviously then going to inform your mindset. So Henry Ford has a quote, doesn't he?
yeah,
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I think that is really, really true. I struggled with depression when I was younger. I went through breast cancer. I set up my own business, but it was mindset that kept me moving forward. And it's not about being sort of fake or overly positive. It's not about being, oh, everything's going to be okay.
yeah.
It's just about choosing to look for what's possible, even when it's hard.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? I mean, as you say, you have experienced, some real challenges in life, and it is, the way you've explained that is choosing the mindset, um, choosing that mindset and way of thinking, and possibility mindset has helped you through. So
Yeah.
how would you describe your mindset then?
So I would say it's positive,
Yeah,
and it's growth oriented. I try to find the good even when things are tough. I also try to look at situations, especially like challenges or um, issues that other people have. When you come, you ask for advice and stuff like that. Try to look objectively,
yeah,
because if you look subjectively, you're always going to feel that emotion. Whereas if you look objectively, you can kind of see it from both sides, and you can see the possibilities from maybe the other side, for example. And going through insights discovery and having that tool has really helped me with that as well, because it's taught me that two people can have completely different views of the same situation and both can still be right.
yeah,
So that's changed everything for me. Now when I sort of look at something in some way and somebody has a differing view, I'm like, oh, what does it look like from their perspective? It's a real conscious effort and it's taken a lot of practice to get there. But it's something that I do try and do, because you never know what somebody else is going through. So, you always have to kind of think about, okay, well, what is going on for them? What is happening for them? Because their mindset might not be the same as yours.
that's absolutely, yeah, isn't there? Is there, sometimes say that, when it comes to your friends or your family, you don't know sometimes what somebody's going through.
Yeah.
They might be having a bad day for a really good reason. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
that,
So like when I was going through breast cancer, I was really positive and optimistic and everything like that. Because I felt like I had to be. I felt like I had to be for my family. I felt like I had to be for my friends. But sometimes I didn't feel like being like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's okay too, as well. But as long as you can then go back to having that mindset of possibilities rather than that kind of fixed mindset of, well, this is all that's happening now and, nothing's going to change, or we've done it this way, so it's always going to be this way. But actually, everything changes, everything's changing all the time. So we always have to consider what's possible.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. I really like that. So on the basis of getting your mindset in the right place, if you were to think about maybe what techniques or tips or that you use, what would be
Yeah.
advice there?
Okay, so I would say the first thing would be listen to your inner voice. Um, Pay attention to what it's saying, because it could be encouraging you, but it could be holding you back.
Yeah,
And it's about listening to it, but not necessarily kind of um, doing what it says, depending on what it's saying. So obviously, if it's encouraging, then that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. But if it's holding you back, be curious. Ask questions of yourself. Why? Why am I listening to this? Because once you get to kind of manage your inner voice, and realize that sometimes it doesn't give you the positives, and sometimes you do have to just say, actually, do you know what, be quiet, I'm not listening to you today. That voice, it can become a powerful guide, because once you start managing it and instead of letting it run wild.
yeah,
And then the second thing I would say is, to remember that your brain is always trying to prove you right. So if you think the world is a terrible place, your brain will look for evidence of that. But if you shift to looking for the good, then your brain will show you that too. It's like when you want to buy a new car, you decide what car you want to buy, and then suddenly you see that model everywhere, because it's your brain filtering out based on what you believe. So if you believe and put positive things in there, your brain will obviously look for all the positives. And then the third thing I would say is be intentional about who you spend time with. Some people are what we call radiators. They lift you up and energize you and make you feel good. Whereas other people are drainers, where they take your energy and they leave you feeling flat. And it's just a reminder that, energy is contagious. So surround yourself with radiators. And finally, don't aim for toxic positivity. Because, as I said before, life does have its hard moments and it's okay to wallow, but it's knowing that you've got the right mindset to bring yourself out of that. And to remember that, every moment is temporary. And if you stay present instead of stuck in the past, then your mindset will naturally become more resilient.
That's really, really good advice. I really like it. Really poignant. So, on the basis of, some of the things that you've talked about so far, who or what helped you develop your mindset? Sometimes it's a person or people that we've met along the way, or for some people, it might be a book they've read or an experience they've had. Have there been any of those moments where you've gone, that's come at the right time?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say that life has helped me to develop that mindset, like we've talked about before, moving around so much, having to start over again and again, losing my mum, going through cancer. Those experiences shape you. But I did also have some key people along the way. There was one colleague in particular when I very first started my training journey who saw something in me long before I did, and that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And there's also, I've recently, well, I say recently, last year qualified in Reiki level 1.
Okay.
So that's also helped me sort of kind of connect with myself on a deeper level. And then obviously doing the insights discovery and talking that sort of language, it gave me the language and understanding to kind of really own who I am.
Yeah, I mean that all makes sense. And especially I guess, learning the Reiki as well. Is that more for you, more of a spiritual thing as well? Because it's about healing.
It is about healing, but it's also about energy.
Yeah.
It's also about feeling that universal energy sort of like throughout you and helping sort of change that energy from negative to positive. I know some people go down kind of like the spirit guides and all that sort of stuff. I'm not quite there yet. For me, I do it every day. I do self Reiki every day, and it just changes my outlook. It just helps me to kind of to deal, to adult, to do life.
Yeah.
Um, it just helps with all those things. It just makes me feel a lot more relaxed and a lot more kind of calm and peaceful.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. So on the basis of your career, and obviously there's been a lot that's happened, and you worked for Everton, you've worked for Manchester United, big, massive football teams. On the basis of your career, have you got any funny stories you could share with the listener? Anything to maybe it tickle the listener?
Okay. I mean, I can't think of any funny stories per se, but there is one story that always makes me smile.
Yeah,
And I remember being on a work night out, and it was years and years ago at the very beginning of my career, and I was chatting to a colleague. Can't even remember what we were talking about. But during the conversation, they sort of turned to me and said, Philippa, you have a light inside you. Don't ever let anyone dim it. And at the time, I kind of laughed it off because I totally had no self-belief whatsoever.
yeah.
But I've never forgotten it. And it took me 20 years to understand what they meant.
Wow. Okay. Do you know what's really interesting? Somebody said to me when I was younger that you hide your light under a bushel.
Yeah,
It was actually it's quite similar, isn't it? In
yeah,
think,
it is. Yeah,
and
definitely.
but when you do
Nice that
realize.
somebody can see that in you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But as you say, a lot of it is about confidence at times, isn't it? Because I know when I was
Yeah.
younger, a lot of people thought I was more confident than what I was.
Mhm.
The starter. How can you put it? You were talking about imposter syndrome. Sometimes not quite imposter syndrome. It's just a lack of confidence. And yourself.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
or sometimes you want to keep yourself to yourself. It's the timing's got to be right.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I kind of describe myself as an extroverted introvert because although I can be kind of like there and I can talk to people in the networking and I can chat and get on with anybody, I actually need to take that sort of time to myself, that introspection after a day of that, when I get home and I just want to watch a bit of telly, that just it is mind numbing really, but it just helps me to kind of zone out and get my energy back. After a day of training or something like that, it's also the same. So yeah, extroverted introvert.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You've talked about insights quite a bit. So for anybody
Hmm.
who's listening who doesn't quite understand that, how would you explain it to people?
Okay, so it's all about behavioral styles. So understanding your preferences. So when you think about psychological preferences, I can sort of relate it to if you sort of cross your arms a certain way, you're comfortable with crossing your arms in that way. If I asked you to cross your arms in the other way, you probably could do it, but it probably wouldn't feel as comfortable. And that's how psychological preferences work. You have a way of showing up.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's based on kind of the psychology of Carl Jung, but how you show up, how you perceive you show up isn't necessarily the impact that it has on others. So it's just about becoming more self-aware, and aware of the impact that you have on others and improving sort of emotional intelligence, and your understanding of behavior.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously there's difference, is it like behavioral styles, isn't it? Rather than personality types.
Yeah, so I say behavioral styles. Some people say personality types. I
Yeah.
think when people hear personality types, they think they can't change, that there's, that it is what it is. But actually, by using my whole thing about insights discovery is it's like a toolbox. So you have, say, a hammer, a spanner, a wrench, and a screwdriver in your toolbox. If you took the hammer out to try and screw in a screw, all that's going to happen is you're going to end up sort of, I don't know, splitting the screw or something, or splitting the wood, and it'll smash to smithereens. Whereas if you choose the screwdriver to do the screw, then that would work. And it's just about choosing the right behavioral style for the situation. Some situations require more detail analysis, some situations require more direct and forthright behavior, some situations require more sociable and dynamic and influencing behavior, and then some situations require more nurturing and caring behavior. And it's just understanding which is your preference, and which you're not comfortable with, so that you can then work on that to become more comfortable with it.
Great explanation. Great explanation.
Thanks.
So on the basis of everything that we talked through, if you were to give the listener a sort of rounding piece of advice around mindset, what would it be?
I would say stay true to yourself. Don't like shrink yourself to fit in that same kind of line of, don't hide your light under a bushel. And the world needs your difference. And if you're going through a tough time, just remember it's a moment and moments pass. And honestly, you can change the narrative of your story. You're not stuck. If you're in a bad situation now, you're not stuck. You're evolving. Your past doesn't define you. It just prepares you, and you get to choose what comes next. And I guess, I know you're an author, so you can say you are the author of your next chapter.
I like the way you put that. So that's great advice, and it's been brilliant having you on the podcast today. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.